Hello everyone, Marcy here with Creators Call Shop here on YouTube and Creators Call on Etsy. And today I'm hoping to wind up the final video in our Currently Creating series where I've been showing you how I am working on or how I'm creating these 3 different fall themed journals. The original flip through of the finished journals will have already aired, which I will link up above, and then it'll also be at the end in the cards. Not the cards, the end screen. So you can go back and see that video. But first, before we get started, let's get yourselves comfortable, grab a snack and a drink, and meet right back here at the craft table, and we'll just start working and see how far we get. Okay, let's see how far we can go today. I realized that most of the series has been taken up with the ring binder journal, and that's because it was the one that was mostly undone. However, I really want to fill you guys in and just give you a chance to see me work on the other 2, the envelope cover, the ones that I use the envelope for the cover, and they're more of a fabric cover journal. So, like I said, I'm just gonna get going. We've got the timer running and we'll just see how far we get. I've already kind of fleshed out a little bit on these 2, how I want to do things. And then we'll speed up the video here and I'll just kind of give you the voiceover explanation of what I'm doing as I work. I'm going to start with the covers. Like I said, I have an idea kind of fleshed out on what I want to do for these 2 journals. For the pumpkin patches, I thought it would be cute to put some little patches along the spine, and so I went ahead and sewed them to a little strip to make it easier to glue on and get my placement just right. And then I embellished it with a cute little button. And we're just laying them in place. I'm sorry, this is a little bit out of frame. It will get fixed here in a little bit. There's a wrinkle under there, so I had to smooth that out. And then I'm going to go and tack down the corners on the little square patches. I also cut out a small triangular piece, or a half piece of one of those squares. I cut one of those squares in half is what I'm trying to say. And it's just a little triangular shape. I'm going to put that up at the top. I'm going to turn this around here in just a second so I can get a better view of how that's lining up along the top. But I think that looks really cute. I had also pre-sewn the cover piece there. I just kind of pieced together some of those fabric rectangles that I've been working with, and then I had that orange fabric gingham, and I'm turned it into a little pumpkin design for the cover. And then I went ahead and just sewed them all onto a back so that it would be easy to place and I didn't have to worry about anything moving as I was trying to glue the pieces down. So as you can see, my glue bottle is almost at the end. I'm squeezing very hard. I'm going both directions to get good coverage. Making sure I get the edges. Those little glue bubbles that come up out of the glue bottle are always a challenge to avoid. There we go. Laying my centerpiece on the front cover. And then I have those 2 little felt pumpkins that you see up above the journal there. I'm going to figure out where I would like to place them next. But first, before I glue those down, I think I would like some rickrack along the edge. So I'm trying out a couple of them to see how it looks. I think it just makes it look a little more finished along the spine edge there. I'm going to try the brown just to see how that looks next to the gold, but it doesn't really thrill my heart. So goodbye, brown. Getting that ready. Nice glue line so I can tack down the rickrack. I'm excited to have this journal just about done. There are a few little things I might touch up inside or add. It got kind of fat, even though I was trying to avoid it. Has a little bit of alligator mouth. And now I'm checking to see which way do I want those pumpkins to look, and I think actually I like them grouped on the same side like that. It makes it look more like a patch of pumpkins. They are self-adhesive, but I like to remove the backings and glue them down just to make sure they stay secure. That way there's no issue of them popping back up later. You'll see I rested my glue bottle over the second applique there. If it's going to glue up and make those big glue globs, I like it to drip on something I would like to glue. So I don't have any of my drops of glue going to waste. It's probably goofy, but oh well, it beats the alternative, which is glue everywhere. I thought about putting another little patch up there in the corner somewhere, but I don't think it needed it. The idea on there is kind of a loose interpretation of sky and grass and pumpkins. And then I was just showing you there I have a tie that I made to wrap around it. So I'm setting that one aside. And now we're going to put together the cover for Give Us This Day. And I brought in another little patchwork piece. It ties in with some of the fabric swatches that I was sewing onto the pages in the journal, and it also brings in that burgundy color, and I really like the burgundy with the tans. I just think it looks so fallish, more autumnal. And then I had gotten out a piece of cheesecloth. I can't remember did I show you this in the last video or not. I don't remember, but anyway, I got out some cheesecloth to back it, and I'm putting it on very lightly here, just tacking it down before I lay down the doily. This is how my fingers get all gluey. There we go. Now I'm checking which way is right side and wrong side on the doily. I don't think it really matters. They seem to be the same on both sides. So I'm going for it, putting the glue in the center first so I can lay it down. Now I'll go around and glue down the edges. I just think that heart doily is so sweet, and it was just the perfect thing. I'm so happy I found it at the thrift store. And then I have that little fabric flower. I had found those in a thrifting trip, and I thought it just needed something in the middle. However, I forgot about something else I was wanting to add. And you'll see later that I remember it. This little piece here, I went ahead and pre-assembled and stamped out the words, the title, Give Us This Day, and put it in one of those metal frames, and then laid it there. I think that turned out really pretty. I'm trying to glue down that fabric flower, trying to make sure it doesn't move. It's kind of a weird shape. It doesn't lay flat at the bottom, so I'm not 100% certain it's gonna stay where I put it. So I'm trying to give it some extra glue there. I'm just holding everything down so it gets a good adhesion. opening it up. Now, if you'll recall, I was going to take this doily, cut it in half, and make a pocket on each side of the cover, the interior cover. Just lining that up how I'd like to place it. And I'm showing you those are going to be pockets. I'm trying to get an idea of where to glue. There we go. And then I'll go around the outside edges. There we go. That's looking good. Now I'll go try the other side here in just a second. Interjecting a note here. If I had thought about this before I sewed the cover together, I would have sewn this pocket to the inside cover piece. But because my original idea was to put this on the outside, and I didn't change my mind until recently, that's why I'm having to glue it. So I would normally try to sew this in some way, or even maybe hand stitch it, because I think that might look better, but this works too. Also, I'm just laying this here kind of to see where would something fit into the pocket, to kind of give me an idea of how to glue the outside edges. So that's what this is doing. I guess you probably figured that out watching me, but I thought I would say that. Okay, moving on to the fast forward. Now I'm gluing down the other side of that doily. I think I have to wait on the glue to get to the end there. Like I said, we're towards the end of this glue bottle, but I want to use every drop. There we go. And then again, just trying to line up where something would be in the pocket so I know exactly where to glue around the outside edge there. I think this looks really, really pretty, and I like the contrast of the light doily against the dark background. And I also like that it had said bread. So sweet. This is a handmade doily I picked up a couple of years ago from a thrift store. And nothing says Thanksgiving like handmade things and bread baskets. I've decided I'd like to line along the edge there just to give it a finished look. So I'm trying out different things. And again, I like the contrast with that lighter cotton. So I'm showing you that I'm going to take a minute and weave the burgundy ribbon through. And I took a minute to do that, came back, and now we're just going to line it up and cut. There we go, one nice long line. It's looking good. That white, it's kind of like a Battenberg or eyelet trim, actually was one from my mom's sewing box, so that's vintage for sure. And I don't remember what we used it on, but it's probably 40 years old. Easily, maybe 50. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. And I'll just trim it to fit. There, that looks so nice. I really like it. And it ties in the interior with the trim on the exterior of the cover. And see, my little fabric flower popped off, but that's okay because later I remember that I wanted to put some of those other flowers on the cover, the ones that I had demoed in the very first video. So for now, I'm just going to let that be and let it finish drying. I still have some work to do on the pages and things. See, now I got two very nice little pockets on the inside covers. That's great. So we'll set this off to the side. I'm gonna have to take a minute. I still have some notes in there, so I'm gonna have to take a minute and trim some pages up and stuff too. But now we're gonna move on to journal number 3. This is the one, it doesn't have an actual title yet. I'm just calling it Autumn Leaves or something. I'm taking my fabric or sewing clips, I'm just holding the cover shut while I try to figure out how I want to place things on here. So those are those leaf appliques that I thought I might use. I have that little dinky doily, but I'm wanting something underneath it just to make it pop. I do like the burgundy color under that. So this is going to send me on a fishing expedition through my stash. And I like the gold, I like the green, so it's going to take me a minute to figure this out. So I've dug around in my stash to see what I have that might want to maybe be placed under these leaves. Again, I'm looking for that contrast of light versus dark. The colors in this cover are kind of a little grungy as well. So first I'm going to start by just using my handy dandy sewing clips to hold that cluster together a little bit so that I can lay things under it. Starting with that swatch of lace. It's too white and of course not white enough, so it's going to get the boot. Yep. Then I have this one that is a wide lace with the, I don't know, like almost a Battenberg edge. So I tried that. Now I'm trying some cheesecloth like I have on the other one, and that one's not enough of a contrast. It just looks kind of blah. And then I have this little doily, and it's a possibility. So I'm thinking, deliberating. I really want some more pop, like some more wow factor on there, but I can't decide what. So for the moment, I'm gonna try out this burgundy ribbon under there because I haven't figured out closures on any of these journal covers as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to lay that under there and see how it looks with a little bit of that burgundy, which looks better, but yeah, just trying to see how it impresses me. I even hold it up so I get a better like eyeballs on, straight on view, but I'm not convinced. So I'm going to set that aside, and instead I think I'd like to use one of those two lace strips for the inside pockets. So again, I'm going to try them out, and now I've brought over my signature just to see how it's going to look if it's in there. So I'm putting one on each side of that signature. I'm going to flip it back and forth just to get an idea of how it will look with one choice versus the other. That one or this one? I'm going to make my decision. There it is. I feel good about it. Looking for right side and wrong side. And then I lay it down, and then we're gonna glue it in place. Oops, there we go. Still waiting for the glue to come to the end of the bottle before we can make our glue line. And then I'm lining it up along the edge to see how far up I need to go with the glue. There we go. I'm trying to center the pattern a little bit so that it just looks nice on the cover. There we go. Now I'm going to just press it in place a little bit. And then I'm going to set this off to the side, let that finish drying. Now I'm back to give us this day. I don't remember what I was going to do next. What am I doing? Now I'm going through and looking at the pages, checking my notes and things, and seeing what I still need to do in there. So this one, I want to embellish where the two hymns are. And so I'm grabbing some of my little fabric flowers there and some other stuff. And then I grab my little packet I've been saving of little embellishments. There we go. So we'll start with this washi tape that's, I've been hanging on to this for a long time. I like it because it does say be thankful. As you know, I always like to reinforce my washi tape with a little extra adhesive because washi tape, frankly, is wishy-washy. And I don't think it really was ever meant to last on anything. So just give it some extra stickiness so it will stay put. I have to go grab my scissors. I thought they were there, but they weren't. There we go. Giving it a good firm press. Yay! Okay, now I'm going to place some of these little flowers on either side, and I'd also like to know how it's going to look when it's laying in the journal, which colors will best accent or coordinate with the opposite page. So that's what I'm doing there. I need a little flower, a tiny flower. It didn't come with very many of the itty bitty ones, so. Here, I like that. Grabbing the art glitter glue. I like it for those little spaces with that fine tip, of course. It gets those little tiny petals very nicely. There. Oh, this had, it wasn't completely cut out in between the petals. So of course I glued it first, and then I tried to cut the little sections apart. I'm getting glue all over my fingers. And in the end, we get it all figured out. There we go. I like that. I was a little sad I had to cover up the word Thanksgiving at the bottom, but we know this is a Thanksgiving journal, and in the end it looks, you know, the placement looks really nice. So and then I'm doing the same, so it won't be identical on both sides, it will be similar, and of course the colors will coordinate with the opposite pages for both sides. Sure has taken me a while to get this all sorted out. I think part of the problem was that I wanted a small flower in the gold. Now I don't remember, but anyway, I had to set it up just right and arrange all the colors just right so I could work with the little size flower that was available. There we go. There we go. Now we can get these all glued down. Everything looks good. I think that's exactly what these two pages needed. Just needed to look finished. The embellishing is truly the most fun part. I'm going to put these away really quickly because they have a habit of getting lost very easily. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to use some of these on another spot or two. So now it's looking a little bare down there to me. So I want to fill in that empty space. So I thought it would be nice to just give it a little kind of a label. So I'm just tearing up a piece of brown notebook paper, and I'll ink the edges and everything to give it some contrast. I think I've said this before, but I kind of like to use a little glue stick in the middle of the page, make sure it sticks in the center, but then really tighten down around the edges with the wet glue. There, that's what that page needed. Now it fills in the space, and then the new owner can journal about what was happening or their thoughts on the blurb up above the prayer. And this one didn't need it as much because the hymn sheet was bigger. And there we go, just kind of grunged it up, kind of took a little bit of the white out. And then on this side, I have some of these little pieces to play with, so I thought that could use a little something on that side, up in the, up on that top edge of the pocket. And I have these definition stamps. I think the stamp set is called Define Your Life from Stampin' Up. It's an older set, discontinued. They have all these definitions, and I had used a bunch of these on another project, so these are just ones that I had pulled off of that project and thrown in this baggie because I thought they'd work. And I'm just using literally scraps off my desk to put this little cluster together. There we go. Really having to work hard at getting the glue out of the bottle. Sometimes it's kind of like all or nothing. It's either exploding out of the bottle or it's not coming out at all. There's no in between. There we go. Ta-da! And then I don't know if you saw that little feather applique that I pulled out. We're going to use that here in a minute on the other side. Okay. I was checking to see if I want it anywhere else first, just in case I want it someplace else that might work even better before I commit to gluing it on that card. Looks like that is the best place to put the little feather applique. I'm going to play around with placement a little bit. I don't remember what I was doing here. I do know I end up putting a little tab on that page as well before I glue down the feather, because I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to show that that flips open. So now I'm just grabbing a fabric strip. And then I'm going to grab my stapler from across the room. Oh, making sure that's sticking over there. The doily is just a little bit thick, and so sometimes the paper doesn't want to stick. Go. Stapling in place. I have green staples in there right now, so that ties in nicely with our leaf motif. And then I figured out I had that feather on upside down, and the other side is actually the coffee dyed side or tea dyed side, so it looks prettier. So that's good. That was a good save. And does it need a little bit of a flower? Nope. There we go. There we go. I like that. So now we're going to keep leafing through the signature. What do we have next to work on? So this is a page that I used from a wallpaper piece, and I punched on both sides. I wasn't sure if I wanted to glue down both sides or just let them be flaps. This one becomes a little short pocket or tuck spot, and then the other one will just stay a flap because the lace that I punched in it would probably get torn up if you tried to slide things in and out of it a lot. So moving on to this page, this is a page that I just kind of deconstructed and tried to redo. So I'm using some wallpaper strips there to make a belly band. At first it needs to be covered over from all the stuff, you know, to cover up the stuff I had torn off. So now I'm grabbing some paper. Now looking through my stash, so I'm going to go ahead and stick with the green that I've been using off of this notepad here. Normally I don't put lined paper under a belly band, but I just thought it was a nice size and I like the color, so why not? You could always use it as like a secret journaling spot and journal on either side of the belly band and then cover it over with whatever you stick inside the belly band. There we go. I had a little spot where the paper had ripped up and I had to repair that on the crease first. Then we're going to go ahead and glue this little belly band piece down. Did I ink it? I can't remember. Nope. I think I come back later and ink it because it just wasn't popping. Then I have this scrap of ribbon, so I'm just going to use it to accent the top and the bottom. There we go. I'm sliding that pink piece of paper under there just to give it, kind of brighten up the page. I'm going to come back and do some more playing around with that page later. I can't remember if I filmed that or not. And now I have this book page and I want to trim it to fit the journal. So I'm measuring it against the cover. And then I'm going to go give it a good trim and come back. Well, friends, it is quite some time later, a couple of days later actually, and I've gone ahead, I've been working on these journals. As you can see, I figured out something else for placement on this journal cover. So we're going to go ahead and work on that. I'm going to get this laid down and I'm going to spend a few more minutes embellishing this journal and give us this day journal. And we'll see how far we get and then we'll do our wrap up. And that will be it for this series. So yeah, let's get to work so we're not wasting any time. Here we go. One of the things I had wanted to do with this journal cover was to incorporate a little more color. I found some handmade paper that I didn't find it. I knew I had it, so I decided to use that as the backing instead of the doily. I inked it up with a little bit of burgundy ink and the walnut stain just so it didn't look quite so bright on there, but it was still light enough to add the contrast. I traded out that little piece of burgundy ribbon that I had for this ribbon that was in my stash. And then I did go and buy some flowers. I also got some more glue and I cut the top of it a little too short, so now the glue is coming out everywhere. As you can see, I'm having fun wiping that up. But I like how that looks. And then part of that arrangement there, in addition to the silk flowers, it has like that little spray right there, if you can see it in the upper right hand corner. So I had clipped all the pieces to this handmade paper, and that's just so that everything wouldn't move around. Now to fasten this spray, it's going to be too awkward to try to glue it in place. I don't think it would stay over time, so I've decided to sew the top part where it's visible and just sew around that and anchor it to the paper. And then I'm going to go back and glue the bottom of that stem where it's hiding under the leaves. So we're going to wrap it up here. There we go. I'm going to take it and knot it at the back. And now I can apply that glue to the stem down there. And then when I lay the leaves down, it will absorb some of that glue. These were appliques. They're supposed to be iron-on appliques. I suppose I could have tried to iron them on, but I don't think that with the iron and the paper and all that, that would have worked very well. So I'm just gluing. They're very lightweight. That one's kind of like a gold foil almost. It is fabric, but it's very lightweight like a paper. And then the green one has kind of a suede feel to it. It's really neat. I like it. And then in just a minute here, I'm going to add the flowers that I picked out. And I also brought in that piece of brown lace there off to the left to kind of to just balance it all out on the journal cover. You'll see here in a minute. But I like the gold, and then that's more of a rose color than an actual burgundy, but it picks up the colors in the fabric of the journal cover. And overall, I'm quite pleased with how the whole thing turned out. So now I'm just making sure exactly where I want it. That one edge curls up a little bit, so I'm going to have to go back and tack it down after everything's in place. But for right now, just making sure it looks how I want it, and then making sure to put the brown lace there along the one edge. But that's exactly what I was wanting. I wanted some color, I wanted a little wow factor, and I wanted to lighten it up so it didn't blend into the background cover material. And again, that glue is glopping out, so now I have to go in with my finger and help spread it around. Not wanting to waste any glue, I wipe my finger on the fabric cover. Frugal to a fault, I guess. Getting that brown lace laid down and making sure everything's straight, not wobbly, not crooked. There we go. And then I'm just going to go around and tack down the loose edges and the corners with some art glitter glue and some more of the fabric glue. There. There's a little bit of glue or a fuzzy or something stuck on that green leaf, so I'm gonna try to scratch that off here in a minute. Now what am I doing? Oh yeah, just tacking down any loose edges. Yay, I'm very, very happy. I like that. Now I'm grabbing what are going to be the pages for that journal. I'm showing you there that I had already gone through and stamped in some places, and then we're just going to glue in place the embellishments. I went through and pre-placed where I wanted them to be. So now we're just going to tack everything down just to give you a chance to see how the journal's coming along. That was a pocket. I decided to turn it sideways and make it more like a tuck spot. There, I have a fabric flip, but I forgot to sew it before I started this part, so I'm going to go back and sew that and glue it in later. There wasn't a lot in this journal because a lot of the pages I brought in when I split the first journal into two. A lot of these already had the pockets and things that I wanted. Now this is, that's a little pocket. I got it last year at Thanksgiving. Everybody's little silverware came in these little pockets. So of course I put mine in my purse right away. Now I had stamped on it, but because that paper is slick, you can see that the verse I had stamped on it kind of smeared. So I'm having to make a quick adjustment and fix the problem really quick. So my solution, of course, is to stamp it on a separate piece of paper and lay it down. I'm going to go in with my eraser and get rid of some of those smudge inky marks, but then that leaves other marks on the paper from the eraser. So now I'm trying to decide what I would like to cover that with, or just make a strip of something pretty to put under the paper. And then as I'm considering that little fabric strip, I decided I think it would be nicer to have this washi tape that I've been using throughout and just add some of that here instead. So laying down my layer of glue so that we can make sure it stays stuck to the paper. And then I'm going to reposition it a time or two till I get it how I want it. There we go. It was just a little big, so I take a little bit extra off. I'm inking the edges so that it stands out from the background. And then we'll just lay this little verse over top. It'll look like it was always meant to be that way. I think, yeah, I'm going to bring in my wet wipe, which is very wet because I rehydrated it with the sink. So it's pretty wet, so now I have to dry that off. But that got, it got the ink off a little bit better than just the eraser. It looks a lot cleaner and brighter now, so I like that. There. Now I'm going to bring in a fabric flower just as a little extra decoration. Oh, first I'm going to glue it to the page though. And I'm deciding to make it also a side pocket as well as a front pocket when I glue it down, so you'll see that here in a minute. I actually, from up here, the brown looks better looking through the camera, but I did like the yellow. The yellow was pretty, so I chose the yellow flower with the sparkle instead of the plain yellow flower that I laid down first. The brown would have worked too. I think I've said this before, but it's really interesting how when you look through the camera as a viewer instead of as the creator sitting at the table, it shows you different things. You kind of get a different perspective on how the project looks. So there we go. It's still cute. It's got the glitter factor. There we go. I'm adding a little extra ink to the edges because that paper is slick. It's like the ink keeps sliding off. Gluing around the three sides so I can turn it into a side pocket. There we go. And the page I'm gluing it to is the one I showed you in an earlier video. I just took the wrapping paper and used some spray adhesive and stuck some pieces of typing paper on the back side, so everything is nice and neat, and it strengthens the wrapping paper. And yeah. I'm going to keep leafing through to try to remember where everything is that I want to add. So on this page, the fabric flip was on the one side, but on the other side, I had covered it, as you see, with that hem there. And then I have this fabric ruffle that I had pre-gathered, and we're just going to glue that down the edge of the page. I thought it was kind of funny that it says "We Gather Together" is the title of the hem, and I gathered the ruffle, and there was no intentionality on my part to do to put a gathered ruffle with a hem about gathering. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny how that worked out. And then I'm just going to fray the bottom edge there a little bit after I've trimmed it. And then I was just showing you how I put that Be Thankful tape on that page as well. I took my little snippet that I had just cut off and stuck it up there just to see if it would look cute or add anything to the page, but I don't think it does, really. So now on the back side here, I had kind of pre-assembled this little cluster. Now I'm just going to glue it in place. And of course now I have glue everywhere, all over me. And then I'd want to make sure that the glue isn't seeping through that thin fabric onto the paper and gluing it shut. So I put in a piece of acetate. I usually save these from packaging when I get, when I get products or things that are stuck onto the acetate. I save the interior acetate sheet for this kind of a thing. So I have something where it gets sticky. I can keep things from being glued together that I don't want glued together. Now I've switched over to the other journal, the Give Us This Day journal. And here's a pocket. Now these pockets here that you're gonna see, I made these a while back from, I don't remember the name of the video. If anyone's interested, I can go find it for you, but they're the quilted fabric pockets. I don't remember who the YouTuber that originally came up with the idea. It's been a while, but I can go find it if somebody wants it. And then on this page, just going to glue down this pocket. Kind of cover up the background that's not really anything. And then over here, I had clipped all these together to kind of make a cluster. I wasn't sure if I wanted the tuck spot to be at the top of the page or at the side. First I'm inking the index card there, Rolodex card. And I'm going to just play with where do I want it, where's the placement. So I think I really do want it at the top of the page. Tearing this burgundy paper to fit and inking it up. By having this ready, it saves time so that you guys don't have to watch me hem and haw about what I want to do on each page. Then we're just going to glue this to the page where I want it. Then I have a couple of strips of fabric here we're laying down, little scraps. And then this focal point, I need to ink it first. And then I'm going to change the orientation here in a minute. I like it tilted the other way better. There we go. It says, goodbye summer, welcome autumn. I know there are people out there who feel that way. I do like autumn. I just wish that it didn't mean winter was coming and that summer was gone. Okay, so remember this bag that I took out of the other, when I took it apart and I was trying to figure out where to put things. So this is going to get glued down to this page. It's a book page, and I like that it has the tree on the back side, but this side I didn't really like what was on the page. So we're going to use this sack and glue it here. And then I had made a tag, a big tag, to go into the pocket. I did play around with making that another side pocket when I glued it on, but I just didn't want to have to find it or make more stuff to put in it. I think the sack will be plenty. So I'm going to add a couple stamps on the back just to dress it up. Yeah. And into the bag it goes, and very nice. I really am happy. Now let's move it on to the next page. This one has another fabric ruffle. I'm going to glue it across the top. I know some people are really good at feeding these through the machine and just gathering as they sew, but I am not one of those persons. So I like to pre-gather mine, just using old scraps and strips, and then just gather them up, and then they're ready when I want to add them to a project. So that's kind of handy. I thought for a brief moment about adding stamps to the bottom of those 2 pages, but then I decided not to. I think the fabric ruffle is enough. And then on this one, I have a couple of tuck spots. So we're just going to glue those in place. And these were things I pre-assembled a while back. I just have them in my stash, which is very helpful. It's nice to use up the scraps on your desk and then make clusters and pockets and things. It cleans up your desk, and then it gives you supplies to use later, so you don't have to make as you go for every journal. And it's always interesting how everything always fits together. And of course the junk journal style, it doesn't have to be super matchy in the first place. That's kind of the point of the junk journal. So you may notice that I had sewn the page tab that I wanted to add to that pocket and then glued it on, which is infinitely easier. On this page I have a little sticker that was just in my stash, loose. I order from the Boston Bag Lady, as you know, and sometimes she puts little freebie stickers, and so that was one of the stickers from her. They're so cute. And then on this page, I had found an old album a while back at the thrift store, and they had taken different praise songs and hymns and things and just typed them up and put them in there. So I just took them out and cut around the words. And this one is a song about giving thanks, and so it's going to go in the journal. But I decided I don't want to put it in that journal on that page where I had it. I'd rather dress up this one that's the wrapping paper page. So I'm just going to move it to that page and put it on that one instead. Yeah, and then I'll just use the paper clip and put those 2 embellishments on the opposite page, and we are at the end. Okay friends, I'm going to wrap that up here. I was trying to give you a chance to see all of the different embellishments that I have ready to put into the journals, and just to get them decorated up a little bit and just see something a little bit different. As you could tell, I'd already gone through, done the pre-stamping, and prepared a bunch of stuff and where I wanted it to go, just so that section of the video taping could go quicker. So this is definitely the final video in the currently creating the 3 fall journal series. And as I said at the very beginning, the actual flip through of the finished journals you will have already seen on November 4th. And so this video is airing in December. I know last week I thought it was going to air the week or right before Thanksgiving, and I was actually off by a week, so it's actually in December. So today's inspirational thoughts, I want us to kind of focus on Advent. We've come through a season of thanks and abundance and remembering that we are blessed and God's giving us his blessings. So now out of that, how do we give back to others? And now we're in the season of giving. So I just wanted to read a couple of things because obviously I am filming this actually the day of the election, and I don't know how it's going to turn out. But by the time this video airs, we'll know a lot of things, won't we? So anyway, who knows what the situation will be. But what we really truly want to be focusing on is not what's going on around us, but who are we and where is our focus. And so the first thing that I wanted to read is a quote here by Everett Hale, and it says, "Look up, not down. Look out and not in. Look forward and not back, and lend a hand." And that's where we want to keep our focus and keep our attention. Is the world's always going to be crazy. There's always going to be craziness and uncertainty in the world. But who are we and how are we going to respond to that, and how are we going to be in the midst of that? We are now in that season of Advent. We are receiving the greatest gift that was ever given. If you are a person of faith, obviously Christmas is here because we celebrate the birth of Christ. If you are not a person of faith, Christmas is still a season of giving of ourselves, of extending that generosity that we have received to others. And that's really the whole point, which is where the tradition of Santa Claus was born from. He was a real man, and that's what he did. He gave to people, and we give gifts. And so really, I'm not trying to preach. I'm just trying to encourage you to really adjust that focus. Because as I say, you're going to see this a few weeks down the road. The election is today, and who knows what craziness may or may not ensue from that. And yet we're coming into our season of Christmas, of peace, of extending goodwill. So my second quote here is from John Wesley, and you may have heard it before, but it says, "Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, for as long as ever you can." I heard it explained recently. I can't remember where I heard it, but anyway, it was essentially saying that when we extend forgiveness and grace, we are breaking that cycle of ugliness and of selfishness and of meanness. And when people get in that cycle, it's because life has been hard. But by extending grace and kindness and giving and choosing to be open-hearted and open-handed, we break that cycle of ugliness and of just selfishness and of continuing to be unkind to each other. And I think that's a great way to look at it. Let's continue to break the cycle by extending goodness and peace, and that's what goodwill is. So anyway, sorry, this is a very long inspirational thing, but I've had a lot of things going through my head lately and going through a really excellent Bible study about that. But my last little quote here I'd like to read for you is actually from this book by Max Lucado, One Incredible Moment. And again, focusing on Advent and the season of Christmas and what that really means. The quote says, "God's help is near and always available, but it's only given to those who seek it." So as you go out into the world this week, and as you're preparing for the holidays, Christmas holidays, we've already had Thanksgiving, but just where is the help? What is available? And are you seeking it? Now that this is over, I don't know exactly how much time I'm going to have to work on a Christmas journal. I already did Christmas in July. I did my giveaway in August, and I still have one I'd like to make. So hopefully next week's video will be showing you that journal. We'll see. I also have a thrifting video, a thrift haul I'd like to show you in the next couple weeks from when we took a trip to Washington. in October, and found a great little thrift store with incredibly amazing prices, so that will be coming up. And then I just have a couple other little things in the back of my mind. One of these days I'm going to teach you all how to read Roman numerals. And then also I have a project for one daughter, repairing her journal covers on the journal that I made for her about 3 or 4 years ago when I was first practicing. So she got a practice journal. And so I thought maybe that might be a good thing to show folks if you haven't learned quite how to cover the chipboard covers and make yourself a journal cover. That'd be great. So yeah, I've got quite a few things here up my sleeve. So friends, I am wishing you a season of peace, a season of kindness, and I want you to really try to break that cycle, try to break that cycle. And when someone is unkind to you or mean, as this season is so busy, and then with COVID, and there's still joblessness, and there's just spread of illness and uncertainty, they're reacting out of fear. Break that cycle. Don't give it back. Give them something good instead, okay? So until next time, I'd like you all to be inspired and do something creative today. And I will see you in next week's video.